Latte art at home works perfectly. We will show you in a video series how to froth, how to pour, and what the most important points are to make a perfect cappuccino at home. The basics of steaming. We'll really go into the first step on how to get the perfect milk froth at home. What steps did you take to establish the groundwork necessary to even begin casting any images at all? It's really about using the pull and roll phase correctly to show the differences, whether you have a little more or a little less steam power from your machine. And how do you manage to maintain the final product's consistency, ensuring that it stays perfectly right so you can pour a picture or design afterward? Today we start with the steaming process and we'll demonstrate how you make the initial pour for crafting the heart. There will also be videos on how to pour a heart, pour a tulip, pour a rosetta, and amusingly enough, the combination of all of them. Regarding the steaming process, there are two important phases. The first phase is called the stretching phase. You draw volume into the milk, and many people have the impression that if I place the jug very deeply onto the steam wand deep into the milk, then I'm actually adding air. Naturally, this doesn't work at this moment because you're merely getting the steam from the steam plant. In order to generate foam, you should carefully move the pitcher downward, starting from the surface, that we draw ambient air under the milk. The second part, and this is much more important, is the so-called rolling phase. The milk swirls around in your pitcher and you eliminate the air bubbles, forming what I like to describe as a creamy and smooth consistency that you can pour later. What's important with the machines we use at home is that the power is usually not as strong as with commercial machines. That's why it's somewhat of a blending of the two phases. At the start, you typically pull and roll simultaneously, allowing us to immediately eliminate any of the air bubbles that form. A question that often comes up is, which type of milk should I use for steaming? Rest assured, you can use just about anything you like. There are also specific varieties of soy milk, almond milk, or oat milk that are specially formulated for steaming purposes. They're available in practically all major retailers. You can get a semi-skimmed milk with about 1.5%. You can also get a low-fat milk. Or simply use a standard 3.5% cow's milk. It truly works with any type of milk, it's just always a matter of technique. What we would of course recommend in terms of taste when using cow's milk is a pasteurized one rather than an ultra-heated one, because simply this milk penetration and it's almost like a burning process with those temperatures. UHT were at 135 degrees and more, which creates a certain unlinkly taste. For a consistent and delightful flavor in your drink, we recommend pasteurized whole milk. This ensures the coffee receives the quality and taste it genuinely deserves, highlighting its rich character. For today's introductory journey into the world of steaming, we have carefully prepared two machines for you. Once with a pitch control where we raise the temperature to 122, 123, 124, really in the hotter range, so we have a bit more power for steaming. And for comparison to that, a classic heat exchange espresso machine where we have a little bit less pressure, but it should still work perfectly well if you use the correct technique. The foundation is always the perfect espresso, so it's better to first watch one of our videos on how to get the perfect espresso right and then move on to steaming. Because the best cappuccino with the nicest, most beautiful foam art is really worthless if the coffee base isn't right. That's why first adjust the espresso correctly and then we'll move on to steaming. We've extracted the espresso, now we're moving on to steaming. Which pitcher works best for you? There are X different versions available. We've done some testing as well, and we'll provide you the link where we conducted a pitcher test. Just try it out. Make sure you have a spout that is straight and not crooked, because otherwise you'll always be pouring in that direction, and that would make the whole thing too complicated. I have now filled the milk jug exactly up to the start of the spout, where it begins with cold milk. With most pots on the market, it really works for 2 cups somewhere between 160 and 190 milliliters, so that you can really fill them up afterwards. When practicing, it's better to use a bit too much milk because nothing is more frustrating than when the picture from frothing is taking shape, but the little pitcher is already empty and you can't finish it. Even if you have a bit more milk in the jug, you have a bit more time for steaming. You'll really need this at the beginning too, so better to use a bit more milk and make sure it's as cold as possible from the fridge, around 5 to 6 degrees. This way, you have plenty of time and the proper preparation for achieving the perfect milk froth. First, free the steam plant from the condensate. That means once. Blow it out nicely so that you have this condensate outside. Then shift the steam plant a bit to the side and then utilize the jug to carefully hide the head of the frother, just a little bit. First, switch on. When the head of the steam plant has disappeared, because if you start otherwise, you'll have a huge mess, as the milk will naturally splatter everywhere. I'm starting the machine. I've got power, I'm slowly pulling in the milk foam. That means I slowly move my pitcher downwards. You see, at the same time, the milk is also swirling. That means it's now like a combination of the roll and pull phase. Now I've reached my foam content. Now I'm going a bit deeper into the milk. You see, I'm barely moving, but the head of the steam wand has disappeared. I let the milk continue to roll and swirl around until I feel it's sufficiently hot, and then I stop the process while it's steaming. Continue the steam wand further. Blow it out directly and wipe it off to remove any milk residues. Be sure not to do it superficially. Ensure you reach all the way down, as a lot of the old milk tends to stick right here. Now comes the most important part. Keep the milk moving. The latte macchiato effect, as you know, where the milk separates with the liquid part at the bottom and the frothy part on top, that's not what we want in the cappuccino. We aim for a consistency similar to cream. That implies I have the option to pour the milk back and forth a little bit, ensuring that I truly achieve that creamy whipped-like consistency. And in both, the same amount of foam can be for both cappuccinos. The tapping you often see baristas do is to get rid of any air bubbles inside. You probably noticed that with this machine, those two phases get mixed together just a bit. But also with other gastro machines, I like to mix. I directly destroy these air bubbles during the drawing phase with the rolling fibers. To help you see it a bit better, I've prepared a glass jug where we can really see from the outside how this milk circulates and how the foam eventually, if we let it stand, at the top it separates. This will stick in your mind much better that you have to do this movement as thoroughly as possible before pouring in. Please take a moment to really pay close attention to how deep I genuinely have the steam plant fully inserted in. All the way inside the glass itself. I'm just gently using the steam wand here. I'm still pulling in a little bit of delightful milk froth. And now I've reached the amount that works for me. And now you see I'm never at the bottom of the glass pitcher and I always just let it circulate. And once I reach the temperature, I stop. What happens now? If you look from the side now, the moment I blow out the steam wand and also give it a good clean, which you really have to do immediately, the milk has already separated and I have the foam on top. And the liquid milk below. You can see here that it's a bit lighter and at the bottom it becomes liquid. And as soon as I circulate it, everything mixes again. Seeing it from the top view, it genuinely resembles cream, possessing a creamy consistency, which you can actually pour out at a later stage. We continue steaming as it's essential for the correct positioning of the steam wand. Once again with water, so you can really see from the side how deep the head of this steam plant is actually submerged in the water. Even though there's not truly any volume created now with water, it's simply so you can observe where exactly I add some foam. I am just barely with the steam wand in the water. In this water zone, I would approach it the same way with the milk. If I turn it on now, bubbles can start forming and you'll clearly see those bubbles appearing. Every time I go outside, I have bubbles. When I go inside, I don't have them anymore. No foam. And now foam is forming. With the water, you can clearly observe the moment I'm near the surface, nearly out with the steam plant, I am really drawing in quite a lot of air. You could really hear it quite well. It's always that distinct hissing sound that then follows. You shouldn't be too far out because otherwise these air bubbles get so big, but then you saw that in that moment volume is created. And you definitely need this if you're planning to pour later on. That's why at the beginning, really pull just as you've observed right now in order to bring in more volume. and then move just a bit further in, really just enough. We tilt our head slightly towards the milk. You'll see it naturally rolls when you're a bit along the pitcher's edge, creating a gentle swirl. If you position yourself centered with the steam wand and it's directed at a proper right angle downwards, quite like this, then there's no swirling effect occurring since the distance to the jug's edge from each outlet on the steam wand is entirely equal. Aim slightly toward the edge, allowing this circulation, this swirling motion to form naturally within the pitcher. To wrap up this segment, the process of rolling also breaks down those air pockets, those bubbles that have formed on the surface, ensuring that there's truly no additional leavening phase needed. Refrain from pulling it again, instead simply allow the milk to circulate gently all around. This movement, which is often seen, the constant breathing in and out repeatedly, is fundamentally really wrong. Instead, take in a good amount of air once and then let it roll as long as possible, that you achieve this beautiful milk consistency. Once you've extracted and proceed to steaming, I recommend two things. The first point is, do not hold the cup in your hand when you start pouring. If you do it for years or if you've trained a bit, it doesn't have to be years. You can hold the cup wonderfully in your hand, tilt it, and then pour like that. Has the huge advantage that you can get to the cream much earlier and thus create much better and more detailed patterns because you have much more time. It's important that when you're using your hand to hold the cup, you position your hand in such a way that the thumb isn't placed where the guest will later drink, but instead make sure you're holding it securely from the bottom, where no guest's lips can ever touch. The second tip is that every crema always has a consistent color structure. That means when the extraction is finished, you'll have light brown, dark brown on the crema, and with a cappuccino, we want absolute contrast. The best way to do this is to simply swirl the espresso cup. On one hand, if you have crema and clumps, they will mix together to smooth out nicely, and on the other hand, you'll have broken the color structure, so that you have a beautiful brown canvas where you can later draw with the white color of the milk. I'll pour just a single dot for the first one, so you can clearly see exactly how the whole thing actually works. Begin at the top. The milk flows under the crema, gliding over the smudges. When the cup is about 2/3 full, you gently lower it, form a small point, and then stop. With the heart, you start from the top. The milk foam goes through the crema. Slowly descends, gives a little push. Rises again and pulls through. Everything you draw on it, you can also erase again. The closer I get to the crema, then I am able to draw. I place the milk foam on the crema, and when I step away, I can put it back down again. I'm back at it drawing, then finishing it. It's not just closeness to the crema that matters, it's also how fast you pour. If you start from the top and go down without accelerating, almost nothing happens. But once you accelerate, a point forms. If I stop again now, almost nothing happens. Alright, please proceed to illustrate the flow pressure now. If you pour too quickly right at the start, it might look like this. This is fine, but if you are too swift with the pour, the milk rises up at the edge, as you noticed, and it discolors the entire nice brown canvas, making it turn white. Therefore, begin by pouring a bit more cautiously at the start and only gradually increase your speed when you reach the crema layer at the bottom. For training, you can just use water and dish soap. It works perfectly for steaming, where you can see that you can make these bames really fine. Feel free to practice the technique of pouring both quickly and slowly by positioning a cup in front of you and pouring in the wonderfully foamed soap mixture that you have prepared. A little slower, a little faster before you dare to try the coffee. Finally, on the topic of steaming and some initial tips for pouring. Steam in a way that ensures you have just the right amount of foam, not too much, not too little. As you noticed, it requires a pulling phase, which is then followed by a rolling phase to effectively ensure the bubbles are broken as needed. Then when pouring, don't pour too fast so that these waves of milk froth don't rise up again. But don't pour too slowly, especially when drawing. Otherwise, as you've seen, nothing happens with the crema if I go down and pour slowly. One more key point to mention, always keep the milk in motion constantly. We demonstrated this in the glass, so you can clearly see that the milk foam tends to settle. Really swirl the pot well before pouring the first sip into the cup so that you maintain that creamy consistency throughout the entire pouring in the cup. You can see it turned into several cups of cappuccino. It genuinely takes quite some time to practice that skill. However, if you follow these tips, you're definitely beginning from a clean point. And at the very end, it's a drink. And the little picture on top is more decoration. With a perfect espresso and milk froth, crafting a cappuccino really becomes enjoyable fun. In the next videos, I'll show you the basic patterns: heart, tulip, rosetta, and finally a combination of these elements. Have fun training. Like the video, comment if you have questions. We're very happy to give you feedback. See you soon.